Hi, class. My name is John Jackson, and I will be going over Chapter 19, managing relationship with players, with your team, with athlete, and other special people within your team. And I always, if you had me the last couple classes, I always start my presentation with the wonderful quote, and have the opportunity to start this quote from the NCAA. It says, "You must build lasting and caring relationships with every player. Rules without relationships will lead to rebellion. Your players will run through a wall for you if they have a positive relationship with you. Having positive, healthy relationships with your players will allow you to become a much better coach." NCAA. It just this just correlates back to the chapter, just managing relationships with players, with equipment people, athletic trainers, parents. Um, this is a for sure strong quote because as a head coach, you want to have that correlation and that relationship with everybody so that your team can function to a high level and exceed expectations for the most part. So one of the first things I feel as though that's important. It didn't say this in the book, but I just felt like it was important. Any coach, it's very important for a coach to adapt when they're in a leadership role and they manage relationships. You should first be able to ditch the ego, meaning focus on the well-being of your team for them to get better and gain values and have fun. I think most coaches really lose that for the most part because they're so strong to make a presence and make an impact on their players that they forget that their egos in place. But once you lose the ego, I feel like it will set you up for success with any type of players, any parents, any athletic, any training staff, and even administration. And let's and it leads me to my second statement. Productive practices. When you're in a leadership role and you're a coach, productive practices are everything. You want to have effective time, and you want to make sure every athlete is involved. When people come out observe your practice and they see that every athlete isn't involved, and that's when you run into conflicts with the administration, parents. Why is my son not playing and such. My next statement is maximize the action, minimize the talk. So keep have more activity rather than listening. Interact with athletes while they participate within drills. So as a coach, you can always coach a player up while they're in a drill. You can always give them a focus point while they're in a drill. You always can watch the drill. You always can record the drill. Drills are set up so you can go back and look at them again to have everything sharp and everything to a T. Some other things, another topic that's very important when managing relationships is you want to listen. Listening promotes great communication. As a coach, listening demonstrates respect within your team. Anytime you listen to any of an athlete, a parent or administrator, you just understanding their concern, and you have the ability to apply it as a coach in your leadership role. It also builds relationships within even the community when you're listening to the demands or how you can help somebody in a major way. Listening also increases the knowledge about your team. You have the ability to really know like where your players are from, a little bit about what they might think. They also give you the availability to have new ideas and think outside of the box. So listening is very important, and it also builds loyalty throughout your team. I know we talked about early in the chapters about your coaching philosophy, and I think this just ties back to just know yourself and others. You build relationships with athletes to gain their trust at the end of the day, and think about trust. It has to be real, it has to be authentic. You have to be honest and genuine with your team. You also want to get to know your personnel, so knowing their family, knowing their goals, their desires, their hometown. What sparks their fire. What can you really get them to go? What can you do to motivate them at the end of the day? And as a coach, you stick to those philosophies while having a positive influence. So you're always in some type of point. You're always in a view of someone. If it's a parent, if it's an administrator, they're always looking. Even the media, they're always looking at you. See, to see how you can how are you what are you doing to when you're not on the field? What are you doing when you're with your family? So whenever you have that positive influence within your player, then you have something special that you're really, 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 really displaying. Um, throughout this PowerPoint, I've been talking about the athletes, the administrators, the trainers. That's where special relationships come in play. Think about managing relationships. You have special relationships. You have those who are willing to help you through it all. So special relationships are important. It's important. Your team doesn't just consist of athletes; it's those in operations and admissions, academics, and parents. The thing about that, you want to communicate to all of them just to get them on the same page. To have that common goal and that common task at hand. You give special responsibility to assistant coaches to make them feel a part of the program. That even ties in. You go to your staff. Hey, I need this project done. You go to this other staff member. Hey, I need you to watch over this kid. So those special relationships. Help you manage relationships. You keep administrators informed of team progress along with needs and wants. You see all the time that ads come to practice to view practice and see how it goes, and how are you carrying yourself. Just informing those, it forms that bond. You guys establish that that expectation. As a coach, you do set daily meetings with training staff to see what is needed in their department. Athletes have some type of concern, and in the training room, day in and day out, regardless of what sport you have. If it's a bum foot or it's a broken leg, it's important as a coach to really communicate and that relationship. To see, can the athlete play this week? Can he practice? Is his day off? Whenever you communicate with the athletic trainer, it's sky's the limit. You want to have the best relationship with that trainer, and that's just another special relationship to have. When I think about a guy that really exemplifies, special relationships and managing relationships, no other guy that comes to mind than Greg Popovich of the San Antonio Spurs. So here's a little video you guys can watch to get a little.
That stuff is important, and it's cost us games, and it's cost us big games when people don't listen. It's your responsibility to know what the hell we're in all the time, and it's your responsibility to help your teammates.
A lot of bad words. A lot of bad words. Comes like all red, and you scream right at your face, and you just listen, and you're like, oh, sometimes I think he's crazy.
They're shooting it, and 3 of them are going to the board, and nobody puts a body on anybody. They're physically kicking up. That's what this is about.
While Pop is known as a fiery taskmaster, Duncan, who hails from the Virgin Islands, is perceived to be just a bit more mellow.
Part of it's where he's from, the Caribbean. The Caribbean, they don't move fast for very much. I mean, if you've ever been on vacation anywhere in the Caribbean, it's, hey, no problem, man, we'll get there when we get there. He doesn't try to draw a lot of attention to himself. He's not in a lot of commercials, things like that, saying, hey, look at me, I'm Tim Duncan. He's not concerned with that.
We got the first pick. Pop went to St. Croix and spent 3 or 4 days just hanging out with Tim, walking on the beach with him. That really was the beginning of their relationship. I thought if I went down in his home environment, that it might help me understand who he is. The first thing that I knew we had a winner was when I realized he had a sense of humor.
With the first pick in the 1997 NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Tim Duncan from Wake Forest. Pop, this is Tim. Okay.
So, Pop, all I've heard from since I've gotten here was that you're going to trade me. That's all I've heard for the last 20 minutes.
There were many times early in their time together when Tim was making his way into the NBA, and he used Pop as a counselor a lot. Tim's father was ill during that time, and I think that Pop and Tim really shared some private moments that many coaches and players don't have happen.
To basketball purists, Tim Duncan is the perfect player, But to Pop, perfection is a never-ending quest.
TD, what are we in? On pick and roll, what are we in? We're in hands. Let's go.
Any team superstar that can handle criticism and are willing to improve, you've got a special player, because everybody else can't make an excuse.
When you're the star and the coach gets on you, that makes all the other people behind you like, oh, he's getting on Tim. Well, I better fall in line behind him.
Duncan would ultimately prove to be far different than he appeared.
The relationship Tim has with the group and the players that have come through during his 10 years is probably the best relationships that I've ever seen a superstar and his teammates have.
Manu Ginobili, his first All-Star game. He's a rock star, so it's nothing different to him. Camera's always on him. It's not wet today. He hasn't wet it down yet.
So the Greg Popovich example, Greg has developed a high character team within the San Antonio Spurs organization. Because of the result of managing strong relationship, he has hired former players to coach his staff. He has gotten superstars to buy in, and because of his loyalty and trust, he's keeping it real with players. His relationship with players has established a great appreciation within his team. Overall, I think Greg Popovich is a great example just because, players trust him. He interacts with the training staff. He interacts with, guys like, you seen Tim Duncan. And, he wasn't just a coach for him, but he was like somebody that had a special relationship with him. And he took Tim's game to the whole nother level. Like I said in the YouTube video, he wasn't just a coach to him. He was like a father. So this concludes my presentation for today. I hope you guys enjoy. And I do have 2 questions for you guys. What are some special relationships? Why are special relationships so important within your team? And how do you get everyone on the same page? And what are some other coaches that are great at managing relationships? Thank you. That's my time. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful semester.
My baby boy being so responsible.